This movie is... what the hell? The closest I see this resembling is the Cosmic Shake video game, but for some reason this looks kinda worse in a way. It's fucking water. You know, something that he has lived under his entire life. Oh well, we gotta get to that climax faster now, don't we? So why the fuck is the movie putting the blame on her? It's called... Do something yourself, you lazy bitch!
I'm rich! I'm rich! I'm rich!
I'm pretty sure everyone who actually watches my videos remember that last year, I released my shockingly popular review on SpongeBob's first Netflix flair, Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie. And I guess one could say... Oh, so now you choose to get off the table and do something that could have been done this whole time! God, this movie, I hate this movie so fucking much, I can't say it! I wasn't that big of a fan. The movie, if you can call it that, is a textbook definition of taking something with pretty decent potential and tossing it into a dumpster fire. Sure, it had its moments with a few decent jokes in the presence of Johnny Knoxville as Randy, but it's littered with a predictable story, bad writing, inconsistent and many times ugly animation, dumbed down characters, forgettable songs, and humor that is painfully unfunny. This made it not only the worst SpongeBob movie, but the worst thing to ever come out of the franchise as a whole. Yes, worse than this.
Now don't move it till I say...
This. This.
Security system takes control of Squidward's house.
And even this.
Go away, cheesehead! Can't you see I'm trying to get run over?
Oh yeah, speaking of which, a few months before the Sandy movie officially released, it was announced that Plankton would also be getting his own spin-off movie for Netflix in the same way Sandy did, and was set to release the next year. Then it also got leaked. I abstained from watching the leak because I kinda felt bad for doing so the last time. Despite there being a glimmer of hope with Plankton's little voice actor doing the story and screenplay, plus from the looks of it, there's a crew that had actual experience with SpongeBob's style of comedy this time. After how badly they fumbled the bag with the Sandy Cheeks movie, I was still pretty skeptical. So I went into Plankton the Movie with slightly below average expectations and... I'm impressed. This managed to be worse than the Sandy movie. Oh, I'm kidding. Sorry, I'm not a hate bot. In the light and joyous town of Bikini Bottom lies its most egotistical and evil being, Plankton. Day after day, he has attempted to steal the secret formula from the Krusty Krab to rob Mr. Krabs from his success and take over the world, never to any avail. One day, Plankton's computer wife, Karen, becomes fed up with his failures and decides to take matters into her own hands by taking over Bikini Bottom and becoming the ruler he could never become. So now it's up to Plankton to team up with SpongeBob and co. to stop Karen from destroying the world and repair their relationship. At first glance, this is a very similar issue I had with the Sandy Cheeks movie in that not only is it rehashing previous episodes and movies, but it feels like an extended episode of the show. I mean, most movies based on TV shows are just that, but I still think it's a valid criticism to have, especially since Plankton the Movie resembles something that was initially pitched as a half-hour special, but was extended to 80 minutes. I'm sorry? That was actually what happened? Huh. Odd. Most of my problems with this movie stem from the first act, which I felt was mostly rushing to get to rising action as soon as it could. There were parts in the first 10 minutes where they teased the whole world domination plot like, oh my Neptune, she's gonna do it, she has an evil plan she's gonna do, you know, instead of letting it build up naturally. That annoyed me a bit. Anyway, the world domination part of the plot is cool, I guess. It's nice to see Karen be the one doing all the stuff Plankton never managed to do and see the different versions of herself. But, I don't know, I just wish they built more off the premise and we saw more of it, at least balanced out with the B plot. Also, you mean to tell me she could have done that this whole time? No, this is SpongeBob. Don't even think about it this time. Speaking of B-plot, the other half, or most of it, is a character study of Plankton himself, exploring both his origins and how his relationship with Karen became rocky. And yes, it's actually explored unlike that cop-out in the Sandy movie. To be honest, this is where the flick really shines. Not just because Plankton's backstory is really creative and intriguing, but it gives the movie a much-needed heart that I felt was absent from last time. I know that sounds like a corny thing to say about a SpongeBob movie where its primary focus is to make you laugh, but I really felt for these characters throughout the whole thing. And when I got to the scene where Plankton and Karen reconciled, I did start choking up a little. They're just so sweet. But again, SpongeBob at heart is a comedy, so surely it can bring some good laughs, right? Well, sort of. While there are plenty of funny gags in this movie, like SpongeBob going hyperactive after drinking coffee and the fucking handsome spray, I can't really say the movie is that funny because the humor is either hit or miss. When it hits, it can make me chuckle, but when it misses, the jokes really do die, though thankfully they're not offensively bad. Then again, this is post-sequel SpongeBob, and most of the humor is done visually instead of the dialogue. Speaking of which, the visuals. I can't say much has changed from the Sandy Cheeks movie, to be honest. The backgrounds, colors, and the lighting do make it look decent, though it kind of resembles the Cosmic Shake video game in a way, and it can be a bit distracting when you notice it. But there are a few noticeable improvements that help it not look ugly. Firstly, the character models are kept consistent even when they go full cartoony, so thankfully moments like this are out of the picture. There are also scenes where they play around with different animation styles when it enters Plankton's mind, which is where the movie really gets creative with its art direction. My favorite is the rubber hose scene with Plankton's family and the birth of Karen. That was cute. And thirdly, the visual effects in the real world scenes look so much better. Granted, there were only 2 scenes above the surface in which, thank God, but the improved shading and textures help the CGI blend in more. Okay, since I'm on the topic of live action, I feel like I need to address that there is a scene above the surface where it shows a close-up of a little girl's toes before zooming back out, but then there's a shot of her looking down at the camera and stopping it with her bare foot. And mind you, this was at the beach, and she had a bathing suit on. This was a real paid child actor. This was filmed. Nickelodeon. That documentary literally came out last year. Did you not think this through for a second? Or do you just not care? Either way, I just hope you are in fucking prison, alright? On the lighter side, I of course have to mention the characters. Plankton, being the main star himself, is the tiny little genius we all know and love him to be, who always has his plans to steal the Krabby Patty. Who always has his plans to steal the Krabby Patty formula foiled. Yeah, I'm not even gonna attempt that one anymore. But the part of him that this movie explores the most is his soft side. We've seen throughout the show that there are instances where Plankton really does have a heart. The time he was given SpongeBob's eye doesn't count. But the movie literally delves into his mind to see how he became who he is and how his obsession with the formula tainted his relationship with Karen. He does build up more empathy over time, though he frequently tries to brush it off by being selfish and doesn't fully redeem himself until the climax. But what I like about it the most is that while in previous movies his redemption arc always ends with, "No, I don't want to steal the formula and be evil anymore." Yeah, right. Here, he doesn't stop being evil per se, but he learns to value the love of his life more and appreciate everything she's done for him. This brings me to Karen, Plankton's computer wife, whom I really felt the most for. It really does feel like she just snapped after 25 years of putting up with Plankton's bullshit. And not only do you feel her anger, but it also makes you despise Plankton when you see it from her perspective. The 3 separate Karens were very interesting, and their dynamic was fun to watch, but I don't think they were given enough screen time since most of it was pushed aside for Plankton's backstory. It might just be me, but I think they could have used an additional 5 to 10 minutes to really shine. Spongebob, as expected, also plays a prominent role here, but instead of being this obnoxious toddler who's screeching 70% of his dialogue that serves little to no purpose to the plot, and also tickling teenagers' feet, he's actually a core part of the story, not only helping Plankton stop Karen, but also helping him remember his past and serving as a voice of reason in some areas. Not gonna lie, he feels closer to how he was in the pre-movie era of the show. It's kinda amusing. Sandy, Pearl, and Mrs. Puffer in this as well, aka the Gal Pals, and they were entertaining I guess, but I don't think they were necessary to be here. They just kinda felt like filler characters, though that might just be me. The one character I'm surprised was barely given screen time is Mr. Krabs. From day one, he has been Plankton's arch rival. Most episodes centered around him involve Krabs in a way. He is core to Plankton as a character and, as this movie demonstrates, his backstory. Yet for some reason, Krabs is given less of a role than Patrick? I mean, I get that this is first and foremost about Plankton and Karen's relationship, but there could have been some room to include Mr. Krabs here as well with how important he is to Plankton's character. as much as I screamed at him last time.
Do something yourself, you lazy bitch!
I like having views. And lastly, oh yeah, this has songs. At this point, it wouldn't be a SpongeBob movie without one. And to my surprise, these were actually listenable for a change. Whereas the songs in the Sandy movie range from forgettable to straight up ear cancer, most of Plankton the Movie's songs are quite catchy. Not only are each of them in their own unique genre, but they actually feel like complete musical numbers. I probably won't find myself humming these tunes randomly, well, except for the Bikini Bottom song, that one I really liked. And I cared the least for the Karen song, just felt like a mid-attempt at rap though better than last time. But I feel confident in actually calling this a musical, unlike the Sandy movie where every song other than the opening and closing barely lasts a minute. Well, I guess that's enough rambling for today. It's 11 o'clock, I'm so tired. Plankton the Movie, while far from perfect, is a decent watch. Even with its weak first act, certain key characters lacking in screen time, and the child actor thing I mentioned earlier, its engaging premise, decently colorful animation, enjoyable characters, and big heart carry this movie to where I'm comfortable recommending this to SpongeBob fans and casual viewers. But is it better? Yes! As a standalone SpongeBob movie, it's just fine. But as a follow-up to the disaster that was the Sandy Cheeks movie, this is a major improvement, and dare I say, it's one of the better things to come out of the franchise this decade. If they are still gonna make SpongeBob spin-off movies, I hope the crew continues to show that they are learning from the mistakes of the Sandy movie to give these characters the spotlight without giving people an aneurysm. That's why I'm giving Plankton the Movie a 6 out of 10. Still very flawed, but I'm delighted that this was actually kinda okay. My vocal cords have been saved for once. Okay, that's a lie. Until next time, I'm Miyachi. See you later, Tama friends.